Finally, we will be reviewing the fifth and final issue of Godzilla in Hell, and I am happy to report it is a satisfying end to the series. Not as action-packed as I expected, but a fitting and ultimately rewarding conclusion to this very surreal series. The artwork is well done and every page looks almost biblical, for obvious reasons. Like most of the other comics in this series, it is a relatively wordless comic, and uses the images in the panels to tell the story. We have seen Godzilla roam around in Hell itself, and it is almost bittersweet to see this series come to an end. But let us do a quick summary of the comic before discussing anything else. The comic opens with our lone warrior moving forward on this final leg of his epic odyssey, and he is welcomed with another cold day in Hell, pun intended. But Godzilla stomps and crunches on, and into another extreme temperature variation, and onto a land volcanic bridge, which cracks and sends him into a relatively unremarkable cavern, which is home to multiple flying hellspawns. Hellspawns which end up swarming and attacking Godzilla, to no avail, and our hero marches on with the army of annoying hellspawn growing and trailing after him. And finally, Godzilla comes to the end of his journey, the battlegrounds for what can only be an epic battle for the ages. Just look at the artwork. It really sets the climatic tone of this issue. Godzilla looks up at the mountain to see his final opponent, but it is a long way up and Godzilla cannot fly, so he simply blasts his atomic breath. But wait a minute, nothing happens. He charges up his dorsal spines and gets ready to let out a monstrous blast. Once again, nothing happens. Perplexed, Godzilla has no choice but to climb up this massive and very vertical slope, just to meet his enemy. And up above, waiting is the monster running the show, the devil, or the devil monster, also known as Satan, who looks a lot like the fabled Cthulhu, which I am guessing is not an accident. Whatever or whoever he is, he possesses the sinister wit of Lucifer himself. He has muted Godzilla's most powerful weapon and forsaken Godzilla far, far below, with little to no guarantee of Godzilla even being able to reach him. You can just see the amusement in his eye, and Godzilla climbs up. However, he falls, as predicted, with layers of rock crumbling upon him. In a seemingly unwinnable situation, our hero does the unpredicted. He closes his eyes, and allows himself to be eaten by the hellspawn. Totally eaten, in a scene which reminds me of Godzilla's death in Godzilla vs. Destroyer. We see nothing but Godzilla's skeleton, as it falls to the ground. But there is hope, as the menacing hellspawn suddenly grow an eye, and mimic Godzilla's iconic roar, and quickly conjugate and ultimately form what I am going to call a hellspawn version of Godzilla, all of them roaring in unison. And my favorite part of the comic, seeing the devil monster's eyes react to the unfathomable spectacle below. The devil knows he picked a fight with the wrong monster, as the Godzilla hellspawn uses the hundreds of millions of muted atomic blasts at once, from the mouths of the Godzillified hellspawn collective, to obliterate the ruler of hell. And as a triumphant hellified Godzilla marches up the path he literally carved out, the comic shares a quote from Buddha to explain what happened. It is better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles. Then the victory is yours. It cannot be taken from you, not by angels or demons, heaven or hell. And the final page shows Godzilla put back on Earth, because hell wasn't able to hold him. Needless to say, this was a very trippy comic, but most of this series was far out there, because of the subject matter. Ultimately, this comic did the impossible. It provided a conclusion to a grand journey. I was expecting Godzilla to have a one-on-one, action-packed fist fight with Satan or Cthulhu. However, reflecting on it now, I realize it wouldn't have been as pronounced, so even as accurate as what the comic gave us, because Satan is the master of all lies and tricks and such. He isn't really a fighter, so to have him simply take away Godzilla's atomic breath was actually quite clever, and to have Godzilla match him wit for wit, by becoming a hellspawnified version of himself, and using all the small muted atomic breaths of the collective which he has become, to deliver a full-body atomic blast, worked. And because of that, and the artwork, I'm giving this issue a solid 10 out of 10. It is not my favorite comic out of the 5 issues, but I respect the conclusion. I should also point out, it is a little puzzling as to why the numerous hellspawn would become, ultimately, part of a reformed Godzilla. How would Godzilla even know that was going to happen? I think of it this way. Godzilla is a force of nature, and by ingesting Godzilla's cells, the former minions of hell were taken over by the phenomenon which is Godzilla. And this concludes our review for the final issue of Godzilla in Hell. Anyway, this has been 189 Media, where we just don't give a shit. Over and out.